Today we're going to learn about sums and differences of cubes. So what that means is we have two cubes and we're adding them or we are subtracting them. One quick easy way to remember it is SOAP. Okay, so S means same, O means opposite, positive, negative, A means A positive. So S, these will always be the same, O, these will always be opposite, and a positive, these will always end in a positive. So going forward, we can then look at example number 1 and say, okay, so these two, they're both perfect cubes, and so is this one, so we can rewrite this as xy cubed minus, and then p cubed. Just like we set up for factoring difference of two squares, we're going to do the exact same thing here. So this would be my a term and this would be my b term. I'm going to go ahead and set up my parentheses. I know that I will have the same sign here. I know that I will have an opposite sign here and a positive sign here. I'm leaving space for what these will be. So my a term is, we can say a is xy. So a will be here, xy. This one will be a squared, so x squared y squared. This one will be a times b. Our b term is p, so xy times p is xy p. And then we just need to come back and say our b. So this one's going to be b, which is just p. This one is b squared, so p squared. And that's it. That's how you factor these guys. Alright, so this next one, I want you to go ahead and see if you can figure out what is our a and what is our b term. So, what is being cubed here and what is being cubed here? A and b. So a, well, if you look at the cube root of each one of these, so 8 has a cube root of 2, m to the third, if I cube root it, it's just m. Y to the 6th, if I cube root that, I have to divide 6 by 3, so I get y to the 2, or y squared. The cube root of x cubed is simply just x. So my a term is 2my squared, my b term is x. So if we look at our formulas up above, we are going to have, again, the same sign, okay, opposite sign, and a positive. So we will have a in here and b in here. So a is 2my squared, b is x. A squared, so we need to actually square this term. So I can come down here, or I can say 2my squared. That would be 4m squared y to the 4th. A times b, we simply multiply, so 2my squared x. And then b squared is simply x squared. You might want to leave a little bit more space than I did, otherwise it'll be kind of tight. Alright, so let's look at the next problem. We want to use the quadratic formula, which we have in the top right-hand side of our notes, to find the roots of the equation. So we want to figure out, well, what's a, what's b, what's c? So a is the coefficient of the quadratic term, which is 3. B is the coefficient of the linear term, which is -2. C is the constant, which is 5. We have to set it equal to 0 before we can figure out a, b, and c, just as a first step. Now we can plug in. So x is going to equal -b, which is -2, plus or minus the square root of b, -2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is 5, all over 2 times a, which is 3. Now I get to do some math and just simplify this. So If I want to show some scratch work over here, I can. I always like to figure out what is inside the radical. So negative 2 squared is simply 4 minus 4 times 3 times 5, so 4 times 15. 4 minus 60 is negative 56. Uh-oh, we have some complex answers. And then x equals negative times a negative is positive, plus or minus square root of negative 56 all over 6. So when we go ahead and try to reduce this, okay, 56 can break down into 8 and 7. This can break down into 4 and 2. 2 is a perfect, 4 is a perfect square. 2 and 7 are not, so this would become 2 root 14. However, this is negative, so this would become 2 plus or minus 2 square root of negative 14 all over 6. There's a greatest common factor of 2 on top, so I can factor that out. This would become a 3 down here, and the 2's go away. They turn into 1's. So x is going to equal 1 plus or minus square root of negative 14 all over 3. Well, let's get rid of this negative 14 and make that an I. So this would become 1/3 plus or minus square root of 14 over 3i. I have two answers here, 1 plus, 1 minus. My a term for my standard form, we always write first. The number without the I is 1/3. B term, I have two b terms because I have a positive root 14 over 3 and a negative root 14 over 3. So I can simply write it as this. Now, last but not least, we're going to learn how to derive the quadratic formula. So we always need to start with it equaling 0. Then we are going to divide each term by a. Okay, we end up with x squared plus b over a, x plus c over a, which I'm actually just going to subtract and move to the other side. Negative c over a. And I'm going to actually leave a little bit of space, both here and here, because we're going to then complete the square. So in order to find this term, I take my linear term, b over a, I multiply it by 1/2, and I square it. So I end up with b squared over 4a squared. And that's going to be added to both sides. So b squared over 4a squared. I can't add something to the left that I don't add to the right, so I have to do it to both sides. Alright, this allows me to then make it x plus b over 2a quantity squared. Alright, so if I took this and I duplicated it and I multiplied it out, I would end up with this again, equals b squared over 4a squared. Okay, if I multiply this by a, then I can get a common denominator. I'm sorry, by 4a. 4a over 4a. So that's where the 4ac comes from, minus 4ac. And the 4a squared is just a common denominator now. Square root both sides to get rid of this square. So you end up with x plus b over 2a equals, I can distribute this square root, so it's square root of b squared minus 4ac. I can actually square root the bottom to get 2a. And then all I have to do is minus b over 2a to both sides. I'm going to get x equals negative b. Square rooting this gives me plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. And this has a denominator of 2a. That is our quadratic formula. All right, good luck on the homework.